Good morning, everyone. Well, good afternoon, wherever you're watching this, but whenever you're watching this, but back again. I got another project that I'm excited to show you guys about. As you know, we finished the Lexus GX 470. Love that car. It's a great car, good car. Been working good for my wife now for about 2 months. Took it to the beach, drove it around. Haven't had any issues out of it so far. But we got something new. Let me let you in on it. Here we go. So here we have a 2006 Suzuki LTR 450. She's in pretty decent shape. She's not bad. Has a little bit of surface rust. She was sitting outside for a while. It's mainly all stock exhaust, stock everything. It hasn't been boarded out. It's pretty cool, but this is gonna be my first 4-stroke. I've only done 2 strokes basically my whole life. Like, honestly, this is my first 4-stroke. So this is gonna be a learning progress for me. I hope you guys can learn something too. But diagnosis: it cranks, but it won't start. Now, I did kind of go through a few a little bit behind your guys' back, but we're gonna go through that again. And I did see that the injector was disconnected, clean the injector, put it back in, and then it did fire, but then it turned right off. So it would crank, turn on, turn right off. So I got a couple things in mind that we're gonna check. I think what we're first gonna check is going to be the previous owner put a new fuel pump in here, and you can hear the fuel. It does pump fuel through. We're also going to just check, make sure all the lines are correct, make sure none of the lines have collapsed on themselves, because I'm thinking it's a fuel issue. It could be the valves need adjustment, but I want to make sure that the fuel system is good first. I do have one thing in mind that I'm going to check now, and that's going to be the fuel regulator. It's under the tank, because the regulator is what creates pressure, and then that sends pressure to the injector, and then the injector, keeps that consistent pressure into the cylinder. So, or I guess the throttle body. So, let me strip this bad boy down and we'll get to it. All right, so the bike is all apart. Essentially, I just took off the line for the fuel injector, the line coming off of the fuel pump, and there's the line that goes to the bottom of the fuel pump that's coming off the back of the tank. So what I want to get to is this fuel regulator. This bolt is seized in there, so I got to cut it out. But essentially, we're going to rebuild this as best as possible and clean it. And hopefully, it'll hold more pressure, so the spark plug or the injector will have consistent feed of fuel into the engine. So I'm going to work on taking this off. Once it's off, I'll come back and show you what it looks like all apart. All right, so we got the regulator off of the tank. We had to grind off this bolt head because the anchor was spinning on it. So let me see if I got a good shot of that. So now we already took the cap off of it. This was the part that failed, this gasket. It's already cracking. But now we just got to pull that stuff out and inspect it. So I think it just comes right out with no effort. So once I got it apart, we'll come back. Well, we should just be able to pop this guy clean off. We have our 2 cams, our exhaust side and our intake side. This is pretty cool. So everything's kind of labeled, how it's where and how it's supposed to go. So now we're gonna spin it and try and get these gears in timing So the gears have dots on them, and they're in time. All the dots line up with each other. So let me go grab my socket. So the crank bolt is going to be a 17. And you always want to spin to the direction of the engine, right? So you don't want to spin it the wrong way. For this bike, it's counterclockwise, since the crank is on this side. I believe if the dry side is on the, if you're sitting on the bike, if the dry side is on the right side of the bike, you rotate clockwise. If the dry side is on the left side of the bike, you rotate counterclockwise. So we're gonna see if we can find these marks here. It's probably better we pull the, let's pull the spark plug out. Alright, so we got TDC at the crank, and it looks like the cams are also in TDC. There's no play in the chain, so everything looks pretty good with the timing. Timing there is good. Timing there is good. So let me bring you around and show you what I'm looking at. So I don't know if you can see inside of there, but there's a T. There's a T right there, and you want to line it up with that little arrow right here. So you want to make sure that's pretty dead on. Looks dead on. Now on the cams, you're looking for that dot right there, almost on the edge of the head. And then same thing on this side. Basically, right on the edge of the head, a little dot. So that tells me that timing should be good. So now what I want to check for is valve clearance. So we're gonna take a filler gauge. This is your exhaust side, this is the intake side. And we're gonna test with this on. Don't take these covers off because you want it bolted down when you check it. But we're gonna take a filler gauge, and I think it's 3 on this side. Nope, it's 2. Yep, 2 cams on each side. Some bikes have 3 and 2, or 3 and 2, or yeah. So let me get all set up for that, and we'll be right back. All right, so we got some shims here, right? And I looked up the specs that the exhaust side and the intake side is supposed to be. And what I found is they're kind of spread between these 4. So the exhaust side is supposed to be 0.25. The intake side is supposed to be 0.15. This is what I found. So we're gonna take 0.25 right there. And see that? You kind of want it to be a little sticky. And it is. It's perfect. Take it on this side. It doesn't fit. So now we take a 13. The 13 fits. So that's off. Okay. So this one's off. The left side cam is off. So we're gonna have to shim that. And then on this side, I found, so this side is supposed to be 15. So we got a 15 right here, right? So 15 fits in there good, nice and snug. It's a little sticky, it's perfect. Put it on this side, it won't fit. It doesn't want to go through. You gotta force it almost. But this one, no problem. Goes in, a little sticky, which you want it to be. So now we'll use a 10. This one is a size 10. Goes in, a little sticky. Could probably go a little bigger size, but I'm thinking it's right now at a 10. So intake side, if you're sitting on the bike, intake side on the right side is 10 out of 15. And then exhaust side, if you're sitting on the left side, exhaust side is 13 out of 25. So, got a little template here. We got the exhaust side, the intake side. Don't mind these scratches. That was just me getting my stuff together. So we got 13 millimeters on the left side, 25 millimeters on the right side. Intake, we got 15 millimeters on the left side, and then 10 millimeters on the right side. So we got to fix this one and fix this one. So I'm gonna get the shim kit. We're gonna pull the cams out and get that all ready for an adjustment. All right, so what we're gonna do, we know the measurements of what it is right now, and I got it written down. So I'm gonna use these zip ties to tie the chain to the cam. Oh, I'm sorry, the chain to the cam gear, one on each side, so just the chain stays within timing and it doesn't really go anywhere. So now we are gonna have to release the tensioner, which is right back here. I don't know if you can see this, but it's right there, right here. See where my finger is? So it's just two 10 millimeters or 8s, it looks like. So we're just gonna try and pull that out real quick. And there's the tensioner. So now we have a lot of slack. It looks like the tensioner is already maxed out all the way. Well, found a little surprise there. So that's nice. Probably gonna have to order a new tensioner. But leave that problem for another day. Now we can take the cam covers off. Cam covers are 10s. Knowing my luck, I'll drop something in there. Pretty sure these sit on dowels. Yep. Got these dowels. There we go. The dowel stayed behind on this one. Could take them off, but I don't think they'll hurt anything. Probably leave them there. Actually, I probably will pull those off. All right, so we got the cam covers off. We got the dowels out. I think it's just $2 per cam. So now there is I guess like a guide ring bearing that sits right behind this lobe. So you want to make sure that doesn't fall into the engine. So we're just gonna wiggle this out and kind of just try to put it on top of this one there. And you see that dowel right here? Boom. So keep everything on the intake side and the exhaust side. That's how I've been doing it at the cardboard. I'll show you the cardboard here in a minute once I got this all apart. But I'm keeping all these parts together over there and all these parts together over there. So I'm gonna put this over here. You wanna get you a magnet? Just wanna go, boop, and bring that bucket up. That shim will be under the bucket. Sometimes it'll get stuck to the back of the bucket. Sometimes it'll stay right on top of the spring for the valve. So this is, if we're sitting on the bike, this is the back right side. There's one down. I don't know if you can see that. So now we're just gonna put this guy back in its place for now. So we can just pull the other side. Just for now. Gotta get this ring out of there. Get that ring out of there. This bucket. Right there. So it doesn't even look like I had a shim. So now we're just gonna put this back in here just for the sake of kind of keeping everything tidy. All right, so I hope you can all see this. We got our buckets out. Essentially what we want to do is pull out those shims that are in them. So if you can tell, I got my exhaust side and my intake side. The intake side, if you're sitting on the bike, the left side was measuring at 0.15 millimeters. The right side was measuring at 10 millimeters. So technically the intake side is in spec. So the manual, the service manual says, and I'll add a picture of that here in a minute. It says 1 or 0.10 to 0.20 millimeters is acceptable on the intake side. So technically these are good. But I think I want to match up this 10 to this 15. And then on the exhaust side, 0.20 to 0.30 millimeters is acceptable. This one is our problem child because it's at 0.13 millimeters. This one should be fine at 0.25. So I'm thinking I want to put everything right in the middle. So instead of 10 or 20, I'll do 15. Instead of 20 or 30, I'll do 25, right? So this one should be good, but it doesn't look like it even had a shim in there. So this one definitely had a shim in there. This one has a shim in there. And this one has a shim in there. So we're gonna try and stay organized here. Keep everything where it should be. So this one, yeah, this one didn't have a shim on it. That's interesting. I don't know if that's good or bad. All right, so now we're gonna measure these shims out. I don't know if I should put one in this one because I didn't have a shim and it's measuring 25. So, but for now, let's just measure everything. Now you're gonna need one of these, a micrometer. Got this one off Amazon, pretty cheap. I think it was like 20 or 30 bucks. We're gonna turn it on. And we're just gonna measure this guy, 0.71. So this is 0.71. This is in inches, we need millimeters. Make sure you're in millimeters. So we got 0.18. 0.182. measurements. 1.82. Make sure the zero's out. So that's a 2.04. Okay. Zero. Go back. Unlock it. So that's 2.46. 2.46. Okay, so now we got our measurements. So now that we have those, what we're gonna do here, it still bothers me that there's no one in there. We're going basically, if the gap is 13.13, so we got to do a little bit of math here. All right, so I think I got the math done, right? Let's see. So just gonna circle this so everything's good. All right, so we want this to be 15 instead of 0.10. We want it to be 0.15, right? So essentially, we want to add a gap. We want to add more gap between the bucket and the cam, right? So we're going to take the difference, which is 5. So we're going to do 1.82, which is the size of the existing shim, minus it by 5, we get 1.77. So that's the shim we need. This we're going to keep the same because it was already measuring 15, which is good. This one, I took my gauge here and I checked the top of the cam to the top of the spring compressor. So, or not the cam, I'm sorry. With this, I checked from the nipple of the spring in the middle and the depth basically between the top of the spring to that nipple where the shim would sit. And that measured to 240. So I'm gonna try and put one of those in there and see, because this didn't have one. And then this one, we want it to be at 25, so we take the difference out, which is 0.12. So we do 2.46 minus 0.12, that gives us 2.34. Shoot, sorry. So let's see what we got in this kit. I bought this shim kit from Amazon, not sponsored. All right, so we got relatively close to our sizes. You can get a size over. Their intervals of 5. So like this 2.34, I need a 34. The kit gave me a 2.35, which 0.01 is not really gonna make a difference. We got a 2.40 to see how this is gonna line up. And then we don't need one for this one. We'll keep the same one. And then this one was a 0.177. So we're just gonna use a 0.175. So it'll be off by 0.02, which I don't think that's gonna make a difference anyways. So now let's go to the bike, put the new shims back in, and bolt everything back down, and then measure again and see where we're at. We're gonna start with the exhaust side since I already have this off. I'm just gonna sneak stuff in there. So take your shim, place it on top of the spring first, right in there. You go just like that. Then you see that? See the difference? You got that one, just covers the shim. And then you put this. It should just slide right in there. Maybe give it a little wiggle. Wiggle, 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 tap, tap, tap. Should just slide right down. We're gonna do the left side, put her in there, and send her down. All right. Don't forget your C-clip. That goes right here in front of the cam, so we're just gonna slide that in place. And we'll put the cam right over that. Might be a little tight, so you gotta wiggle around. There it goes. Now we can do this side. So we got our end left. Send that bucket down. Shouldn't have to force it. She'll go down on her own. There we go. Just gonna put this guy back in its place. Oh, don't forget our C-clip. Almost there. That just goes there. Now bring this cam around. Don't force anything. Everything should just fall right in place. Check your timing marks. Everything looks good. All right. All right. All right, so the torque spec for these is 7 pounds. My torque wrench does 20 to 100. So we're just gonna do nice and snug what I think is 7 pounds. So we're gonna do a crisscross pattern on all of these. So just so you know, it's 7 foot-pounds of torque. I don't have one, so we're just gonna make do with what we got. So for now, we're gonna use this same tensioner, even though somebody kind of screwed me there. It's broken, but deal with that another time. Well, actually, let's check for sizing. So this side should be 25, this side should be 15 now. So point, can you see that? 0.25. So that's tight. That's nice. Well, no, that's good. It's supposed to be sticky. So, I like that. That's good. And the other side should be 15. That feels good. That feels good. All right. I think we're good. Thing should be nice and tight. Perfect. Perfect. So everything lined up perfect. Chain's a little tight. Maybe we could loosen it a little bit. But I dig it. See if this will fit to do a compression test. I think it's too big. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a different space here. It's too big. This guy back on there. Boots nice and seated in there. Okay, well, let's put the fuel tank in it. So you guys already saw me try to clean this one out. But I figured better safe than sorry. Put a new one on. Just make sure we got everything connected up here before we put this in. Fingers crossed. Gonna let it prime a little bit, a few times. See what she does. give it some time to charge, and we'll come back to it. All right, so while we let it charge, I messed up. So I decided to go through and clean up all the power cables and all the connections coming off of the relay. And I forgot to disconnect the battery. There was a spark, and the spark caused the starter to just die. It just shorted the starter. So right now I'm gonna just leave it at this. So I'm gonna order a starter and a new relay, make sure it starts cranking. I'm gonna order the OEM fuel injector. So once I do that, she'll be just dandy. So for now, just make sure to like, subscribe, please. It goes a long way. And we'll be back with another video. Hopefully the next video, this thing will be running by the time that relay comes in. Or not the relay, the injector. I really think it's the injector. I think the injector is the issue. So again, like, subscribe. It goes a long way for sure. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.